Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you here to the Institute of Peace. We're very pleased to have you join us. There will be a couple of more people coming in as we speak. Traffic is still a little bit of a challenge here, not for our main speaker here. Alex Wall, of course, coming from Boston, a city that is used to this kind of snow, unlike the city we're living in, can deal with it. So he has absolutely no problem and is surprised at the difficulty that we're facing. But here we are. We're very pleased to have this discussion, Money, War, and the Business of Power in the Horn of Africa. Institute of Peace has focused on a range of these kinds of issues over our 30 years. We're now in our fourth decade. And it's been a challenge in every area. No bigger challenge than in Africa, and no bigger type of challenge than the corruption and the influence of money that we're going to be talking about here today. The money and political transactions play a big role in any political system, and the political marketplace is developing in the Horn of Africa is a troubling one. Networks of patronage and bargains are increasingly replacing other forms of governance. Horn of Africa is already home for some of the highest corruption risk countries in the world, including Sudan, South Sudan as well, Eritrea and Somalia. Patterns of monetized patronage and bargaining is increasingly pervasive across society, from local, provincial, and interstate relations. More troubling is that these political systems are increasingly militarized. Across the Horn, defense spending is growing. Since 2005, total defense spending across the African continent has increased by 91%. And due to a lack of documentation and transparency, many of these institutions are largely exempt from scrutiny or accountability. So it's this combination, this creating a paradigm that perpetuates the cycles of fragility that leads to violent conflict, which is what the Institute of Peace focuses on, violent conflict, that have plagued the region for decades. Bargains struck to allocate and reallocate resources and alliances are potential spoilers for peace agreements that are reached or will be reached in countries after conflict like Sudan and South Sudan. So this is a great opportunity this morning to take a look at this range of issues. And our panel here, which Ambassador Lyman will introduce in his turn, is well suited to help us talk this through. We look forward to your questions and comments. We have here today a great group of people, both sitting here as well as sitting up here, that have been assembled by Susan Stigand and her team. She directs our Africa program. She's sitting right back there. There's Susan and her team. We have Ambassador Johnny Carson, who is also a part of that team, known well to everyone in this room. So Ambassador Carson and Ambassador Lyman are great assets for the Institute of Peace in our Africa program. Please welcome Ambassador Princeton Lyman to kick off this discussion. Ambassador Lyman.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks, everybody, for coming on this difficult day to move around in. I'm very grateful we have a good group because we have a very important discussion here today. I'm going to be very brief in the introductions of the panel, so we have maximum time for discussion. But the focus of this discussion is Alex de Waal's new book, The Real Politics of the Horn of Africa, Money, War, and the Business of Power. This is not to borrow a phrase, this is not your father's book on the Horn of Africa. It's different and distinctive. Alex is, as many of you know, probably the foremost scholar, or certainly one of the foremost scholars on the Horn of Africa. As young as he looks, he's been involved in it for at least 30 years. Did his PhD on the problems of Darfur, has worked on aspects of HIV, governance, and poverty. But he's both a scholar and a practitioner. He was a member of the he was an advisor to the Darfur peace talks. He was the member of the Africa Union mediation team for Darfur, and very recently senior advisor to the Africa Union high-level implementation panel to complete the work of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement. So Alex, we're very delighted to have you here. It's going to be very, very good discussion. Following Alex's presentation, we have two commentators. We have Manal Taha. She is a Jennings Randolph Senior Fellow here at the U.S. Institute of Peace. Manal is an anthropologist and conflict analyst expert with a wide degree of research in North Africa, Sudan. She's done a lot of work in Sudan, several research projects there, including qualitative research on land tenure systems and water rights in the Nuba Mountains for the Martin Luther University in Germany. She's been a lead researcher for the National Center for Research in Khartoum, working on various programs in cultural anthropology. So, Manal, great to have you here. And because money is at stake or involved, we're very delighted to have Brad Brooks Rubin here. Brad is the policy director at Enough. I think everybody here is familiar with the Enough project. Brad served as the special advisor for conflict in the U.S. Department of